Hello, everyone. This is Tom from VoIP Supply. Thank you very much for joining us today, taking time out of your busy day to get a little bit of education here on Fanvil. I have Tommy Lee and Hector from Fanvil with me, who will be going through some of the finer points of their FDPS, FDMS, and their cloud server offerings. During the webinar here, if you do have any questions, please utilize our Q&A feature. Right down in the lower right-hand corner, you're going to see a little bubble just like you would in a comic book, and it's going to have the letter Q in it. That stands for question. You click on that, you'll be able to input your question, and we will address all questions at the end of the webinar. So as I said, I'm with VoIP Supply, and some of the reseller benefits we have here you may already be aware of, but I'm going to go through a few here to highlight just to re-put them in your brain if you were forgetting about them or maybe not aware. We have our VoIP rental program, which is very similar to that of the rental programs you'll find through manufacturers, except we utilize this on all manufacturers. So any manufacturer you see on our website, we can utilize this program for. Has a nice low monthly cost. We can get you approved. It's one form, pretty simple to fill out. If you have interest in it, let me know. I can send you the link. We have hardware and provisioning, which kind of directly coincides with our fulfillment program. So on any one-off order, we can do provisioning on and drop ship to your customers, have everything ready to go when it gets on site. And if you couple that with our fulfillment program, we have direct stock available in fulfillment with a full-on fulfillment portal and an API, so you can go and submit orders yourself. Makes things very expeditious and fluid, so things get shipped out, provisioned to your customers in a very timely fashion. Also, our CloudSpan marketplace. This is going to give you access to all of the service providers that we are currently partnered with and give you the ability to make monthly residuals, so get you a little extra cash month to month, as well as a percentage rebate on all the hardware you buy for any of the deployments that you do for those providers. We also have our Refresh or Reclaim program. This is going to save you money and make you money. So if you buy our Refresh product, you're getting a stock product, which comes with a full 1-year warranty through VoIP Supply, and is going to be much cheaper than buying that of a new product. Our reclaim side of things is where we do buy back certain manufacturers, certain phones. I'm not going to say that we do all phones, all systems across the board, but we do have a reclaim manager there by the name of Mike Rayhack. If you do have something you would like to try and sell back to us, I can definitely get you in touch with him. He'll be able to provide you with a quote and let you know if we have interest in the hardware that you have. So with that, I'm going to pass things over here to Tommy, and he's going to take you through a lot of the finer points of Fanvil.
Great. Thank you very much for the introduction, Tom. Sorry for the confusion about all the Toms, but before I jump into alphabet soup on the FDMCS and CS, I just want to do a one-slide background for those who are not familiar with Fanvil. Fanvil really is what we develop are SIP endpoints. So a lot of the hardware side of the development that we build a lot of SIP endpoints that are fully compatible with all different SIP PBXs, both hosted and on-prem. The focus on this presentation really is what we highlighted in red here, which is some of the tools that are necessary to sort of make your deployment successful out in the field is that we have obviously redirection services, and we also have kind of management and provisioning services. And one of the things that we're introducing today is that we're actually taking a management services, which in the past was always a download version that you had to download to your own server. Well, in about a 1 month time frame, we're going to be introducing a cloud service. So now, if you don't want to have a download to a server to really work out the management of the devices, we now are offering a cloud service, and we'll probably be issuing some early beta type of login so that you can kind of log in and try it out to see if it works, and then we'll go into full production shortly after. So that's really the focus in on this. And if there's any general questions you want to ask, feel free to go ahead and put in the slide set on the questions before. Okay. So just a quick hospitality. I put the red brackets here because these are the hardware devices that Fanvil provides into the marketplace. Our most popular is our X series commercial phones. We also have a very specific series that are concentrated on hospitality with a lot of different colors and formats. And as well, we also have our I series, which is we call our intercom and door access units. I'm not going to necessarily go into all of this because this session is really concentrating about what we call FDPS, FDMS, and FDMCS. Now, the CS is really what we call our cloud services. So to get some of the clarity, the FDPS is really what we consider the redirection server. So what that does is that really just allows the phone to wake up when you take it out of the box so that it knows who owns me. You know, either I'm a generic phone or if I belong to a specific service provider, that service provider will likely have a provisioning service, whether it's part of a PBX or our management system. The difference is that our management system can manage all of these devices under one, whereas the PBX that you work with will likely work with one or two of these particular solution sets. So let's just go ahead and move on. I'm just going to give you a quick overview about our redirection and management system. Now, in the past, we only offered FDMS and FDPS, and this is really a basic, what we call our standard offering, where we issue redirection service that I just talked about. But what FDMS is really a download server that you can go ahead and go to our website, and you can actually download this vehicle. In fact, you can go to our website itself and download the production version of this FDMS and really kick it on and try it yourself. You can just go down to our download site, bring it on down, and if it works, then you can use that for our production things. And this is something that we provide to our partners for free. One of the things that we're adding a month from now is our cloud server. It's basically similar to FDMS, but the cloud server is going to add some added capabilities, of which I'm going to go ahead and highlight the differences between the two. So this way you know how to do when you move forward. Now, just as a heads up, there is no real tool that'll bridge. So for those who actually use FDMS today, there's no tool that'll allow you to bridge one to the other platform. So it's really up to you and how you want to use it moving forward. Okay. So that stated. So just as a flow diagram on the current system, which is just FDMS, what you call Fanvil Device Management System. What happens here is on the one, you can go ahead and really load up all the different MAC addresses to our redirection server. And what that does is when you take a phone right out of the box, what all of us do when we lay in bed, we look up at the ceiling and that says, oh, okay, do I have to wake up today? Well, what these phones typically do is they look up and say to this redirection server, say, you know, all right, am I just a standard phone or does a service provider or a reseller own me? And if you decide to take the service, then all of a sudden it says, it's owned by John Doe Company, and John Doe Company will have their own provisioning server saying, okay, this phone got up, it'll go up and actually re-download all the configuration files from either our management system, or in many cases, there are lots of PBXs out there that have their own provisioning services. And when you work with one of those services, it will work in conjunction along with it as well, so that you can go ahead and download these things. And that's how our flows typically get deployed. This is just a straight GUI of our redirection service, where you can go ahead and look at general, users, and this is available online. So you can go ahead and send me or send any of our distributors your email address and everything like that, and we can go ahead and get these tools set up for you. But you can, account based on device. You can even set up different groups so that depending on how you want to sort things out, we have the ability for you to sort out all of the different networks that you bring up. In addition to groups, this is another sub-menu about groups where you can actually have different sites where you can manage different MAC addresses. So if you have a hospital on one group, or you could have a dentist office in another group, and this is kind of where you can set up different groups where you can realize, now I don't have a real populated screen here, but this gives you an idea of what it would look like. And what this does is it gives you the capability of loading up a bunch of MAC addresses through a CSV file. So if you actually have a whole crate code scanner, just load up a file, and you can upload all the file at once, so you're not entering MAC addresses, which would drive anybody crazy doing it, one at a time. Okay. Now that we talked about FDPS, now let's merge into the management system. And the management system here, there are really going to be introduced about 2 servers. Right now, we just have the server version, but in about a month from now, we're going to be introducing the cloud server version, which is called FDMCS. And all this does is really allows you to go ahead and upload configuration files. And what is a configuration file? Inside a lot of these phones, there actually is sort of a template inside these phones that you can program the keys, the time zone, the language that it supports. And all that is really put together in a boilerplate where you can actually take that boilerplate and upload it to all the different series and everything like that moving forward. And some of the enhanced features in our new offering, some might be impressed and may end up moving from one platform to another. But in addition, it also helps out with diagnostics, firmware updates. Basically, it's really a way to manage moves, adds, and changes when you're out there in the field, when you're handling either our phones or our door access systems moving forward. So this is just a quick overview of our 2 different things where you actually have FDMCS, where this is a new addition to download. This is not actually a download. This one here, I think I got the verbiage wrong, but this is something that we'll just give you an account login on the site, and we'll introduce this around the latter part of May of 21. And this is something that we have today where you can actually go to this website and actually download the management server. Not only can you manage the phones, but you could also manage many of the I-Series products or our PA2 or what have you out in the field. From a flow standpoint, if you decided to move into our cloud-based service here, the flow of information is a little bit different. In the cloud-based management system, the user or the installer will actually load up all the MAC addresses, not to FDPS. You could just load it up to FDMCS. And what this will do is automatically set you up with an account so that you just have one single interface. There's no need to load it here and then load it here. Once you load it here, it'll automatically belong to you, the service provider or reseller that will manage these phones. And then all of a sudden, all the exchanges that I talked about earlier will be managed by these 2 servers. So if you decide to go for the cloud service, this is what you need to do and work directly with the cloud service, and you'll be automatically assigned a redirection and carry all of the different phones that way. That's the primary difference. So let's talk about some of the upgrades on the cloud version. One of the upgrades that we are introducing in the cloud is that now you can now isolate phone upgrades based on the MAC address. One of the things that was held based on the X4U or the X5U was that all of those phones have to have been uploaded with the same configuration file for a specific group. Now what we can do with the cloud version is now individualize each individual phone so that per MAC address of the phone, you could then isolate that phone, update, John Doe's phone that's separate with Mary Jane's phone as well, divided by MAC address so that her speed dials and his speed dials and time zone settings can all be different. So that's a great highlight that we can do. We've also put together a dashboard, which, by the way, later on in the slides, I'm going to have Hector come on, and he could talk a little bit about our dashboard GUIs that's going to be offered on our cloud service, and he could talk to you a little bit about how it typically works in most scenarios. Coming in the future, we're going to have actually an open API, which also means that we're allowed to have this cloud server open up an API so that it could interface with third-party apps so that you can go ahead and interface with people that may want to access our management system and work with our phones through a third-party applications as well. Now let's just talk about how do we go ahead and activate our cloud service? Well, what I mentioned earlier is number one is email the contact information to Fanvil sales, or you can actually send it to VoIP Supply as well. And you can go ahead and have the company name and just send the basic information. And what you will get back is this activate now. And this activate now will only be valid for 3 days. So once you get it, I suggest you go ahead and activate it. You'll get a prompt here that's going to prompt you for your username and password. And obviously, once you put this in, I advise you to store that password and username somewhere really well, because backtracking is going to be a real big pain. So go ahead, we'll assign this username for you. And once you sign this in, you click submit. And once you do that, it will then log you into our portal, and then you're into our FDMCS atmosphere. And this is just a system diagram where you can actually take the different cloud-based, whether it's the cloud version or this version, and you can go ahead and manage all of these devices to do everything from rebooting, monitoring, debugging, primarily upgrading config files, as well as uploading specific firmware revisions that you may want to do. So it really handles a lot of the changes all through one single screen. All right, so let's dig now into some of the more graphical features of our new product, which is the cloud-based server. And from here, I'm just going to present a bunch of GUIs and pass the floor on to Hector, which he'll sort of come on now and speak about the different GUIs that we have to present. Hello, Hector.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay,
thank you,
great.
Tommy. Thank you, Tommy, for the pass. Hello, everyone. Thanks to VoIP Supply Team for the opportunity to provide you with all the necessary information about our solutions. In this case, everything related to automatic provisioning systems. As Tommy indicated, the new solution that Fanvil brings for this year in terms of provisioning system is known as FDMCS, and it brings with important improvements that are important to highlight, and that's what we're gonna do today. Here on the screen, Tom is sharing the dashboard is shown, which gives us a complete vision of the system, equipment, records, accounts, and organizations, as well as the current status of each of them. And on the left side, all the sections that can be configured as shown. First, we have device section that allow you to add devices based on the MAC address, and also you allows importing and exporting a MAC list through a file in .csv format. Then the zip account section is shown, which allows you to.
Should I move to the next slide?
No, we're still here. We're still on the left side of the slide, Tom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got the zip account section is shown, which allows you to configure the different zip servers, and also directly configure the account of the devices that are registered, so that they can be shown online from the FDMCS and perform specific actions on the phone. Then we have the site section, which basically allows you to store the devices that are registered in the FDMCS by specific groups. For example, the administrator can have the devices grouped by department in certain company, for example, processes, sales, support, and then perform specific independent actions by group or site. Okay, then there we have the configuration section, which allows you to define specific configurations by model and by device based on Mac. Then we have the resource section that allows you to get the updated firmware versions of Fanvil products. This is very useful when performing firmware updates from the FDMCS. Then we have the section of device diagnosis that allows you to know in real time the status of a specific device. We have the task section, which is quite interesting since it allows you to perform specific tasks on a device or also a group of devices. Tasks such as update, reboot, reset, configuration, among others. This is a very helpful section, the top one. Then the alarm section, which allows you to configure different types of alarms according to the level, and also allows you to define different ways to be notified. It can be through the FDMCS portal and also to the administrator email. Then we have the channel section, which allows you to define different sub-companies, and in each one add a group of devices through the through the Mac. Sorry, it's a way to have the devices registered in an organized way in the FDMCS. Okay, and then system section, which allows the administrator to define different types of users according to the role. And there is also the system log section that allows you to know in real time all the actions carried out by the FDMCS. Tommy, now we can go to the next slide. Yeah. In this slide, we have a little more detail in the configuration section. Here's highlight in this section the possibility of making specific configurations by model and also by device based on the MAC of the device. In addition, all the phone configurations will be possible from the FDMCS. This was not possible in the FDMS, the current version. As shown on the screen, this section will be very similar to the web guide and of an IP phone. Next slide, Tommy, please. Okay, here is shown in more detail about the task section, which is quite useful. The different tasks shown on the screen can be carried out: reboot device, factory reset, update firmware, and update configuration. And these tasks can be performed to a specific device or also to a group of devices, as we said before. Tasks can be performed immediately or also on a scheduled basis. Okay, then we have the next slide, Tom, please. In this other slide, we can see in detail the resource section that allows you to quickly and easily locate the firmware version official of all Fanvil products compatible with the FDMCS. And it also gives you the option to download it or to use a push, or to use the push the firmware update option to send an update to a specific device or also to a group of devices that you can do in this part of the FDMCS. Then we have the next slide where we can see the channel section, which allows you to define different sub-companies, and in each one add a group of devices through the MAC address. It is a way to have the devices registered in an organized way in the FDMCS. Okay, finally, we have the section system log section, sorry, which allows you to know in real time all the activities carried out by the FDMCS. Actions such as those shown on the screen, for example, When an account is configured, when a task is applied, when a device is configured, when the session is start and close, and this all of this is reflected by the system log. Any action that we do is going to be here at the log section. Okay, then we have an important issue like the security. And in our solutions, we have for the FDMCS supports the TLS protocol to provide the administrator with all the necessary security we may need in any case. So that will be all for us. I hope the information that I just gave it to you, you can use it to and get the most of it. Now I give the pass again to my colleague ladies or Tommy to start question and answer question.
Thank you very much, Hector. Great information. Definitely appreciate you jumping on here and sharing your knowledge with us today. We did have some questions that popped in during the webinar, and first one was actually for VoIP Supply. Andre asked me, is provisioning and dropship option only available to partners in the US or worldwide? Answer that, Andre. We can do worldwide drop shipping and provisioning. So you can work with your rep, who I see is actually Darren Hartman. I looked you up real quick, and I will let Darren know that you have interest in that, and he can pass through all of the information to get you set up to be able to do that. There's just certain information that we require in order to provision and drop ship, of course. Our next question came from Scott, and he wants to know, will this solution with the phones work with 3CX, your cloud FDMCS with controls of phone features?
I'll let you take that, Hector. Want to do that one?
Yeah, it will work with 3CX phones. The system can do that with no problem at all. So you have the compatibility to do that. You won't have any problem with that solution.
Yeah, one of the things I want to add on is that it depends on how you want, what kind of services you want. I think the default for 3CX is that you use their standard templates, and they could basically work with us, and you could just download that. And that satisfies probably the bulk of a lot of the users. But if you want some additional features with it as well, I know that there's a handful of providers out there that work in conjunction where they allow 3CX provisioning services to do some deployments, and they allow ours to work on others. So it really depends on what kind of project and the type of configuration you want. But yeah, we have people that use both, and we have a lot of people that only use one or the other. So, but yeah, we have deployments that reflect the both.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
We have another question here from Ross. It says, can you access the device's GUI from FDMCS and remotely collect a packet capture?
Hector, you want to take that?
Yeah, you can have access on the guy from the FDM lens, and remotely collect the package you need if you want to do troubleshooting or anything with that information. You can do that from the system.
Great. And Manny asks, is this a free service, and will this work with any VoIP system?
The answer is yes. We don't charge for the cloud or the download version. These are really what we consider basic tools that our partners can use to expedite their provisioning out in the field. We design all of our phones to work with any PBX system that's SIP-based. So this is designed to work with our devices, but it's sort of agnostic in terms of being able to work with any PBX out there. So you could be on an asterisk platform, for example, that may not have provisioning, and you can use our phones, for example, to work that provisioning. So for those that don't have provisioning services, you can use this as an alternative. But for those that already have provisioning services, now you have a choice. You can use the PBX's service, or you can use ours. And that depends up to you. But FDMS or FDMCS is agnostic. It doesn't really care.
Beautiful. And Richard asks, will FDCS or FDMS provide remote button building configuration feature?
Hector, you want to take that one, I think?
Yeah. Can you repeat the question, please? Sorry about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Will FDCS or FDMS provide remote button building / configuration feature?
Yeah, you can do that on the system. You can configure that button from the system, or either from your device. But yes, well, you can do that for any particular application. We may see it and help you with that if you can a specific solution you want to apply to your system.
Beautiful. And again, we do appreciate all the questions. Keep them coming. I do have a bunch more here that are coming in. We're going one by one. We'll get to them as we go. I have a question from Mark. Can you expand on what capabilities you will be able to program on the i32 door phone?
I think on the i32 door phone, the i32 door phone is going to likely have a configuration file that's going to assign it, dates, times, a lot of the basic configurations. In fact, when you look at the different categories, all of these units have a config file, which is sort of the template, or you could use a boilerplate that does it. And you can modify that boilerplate, load it as a config file within, the download server or the cloud server version. And then once you have that template, you can go ahead and upload that template into that specific door phone if you wanted to. So if you wanted to make 1 or 20 of that same template, you could then not have to load each individual configuration file for all 20. You can upload all those templates the same way so that you get 95% of the configurations complete up front. Outside of the only thing that would be unique is the account status, as well as the zip files that you have to use for individual accounts. Outside of that, most of the others remain the same.
Beautiful. And his follow-up question to that was, can it collect reports for entry into the building?
Yeah, you can do that. As a matter of fact, with the actual system, the FDMS, the management system, you can do that. And you will with the FDMCS system as well.
Great. And Andre asks us, clients are asking us for assurance their IP phones are not sending any information to the manufacturer's servers. Can Fanvil provide something we can share to assure customers?
You mean,
I don't know, Tommy, if you have an answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't peek into it. Once you have a private account, that's why when I stressed on that slide, once you forget your username and account, it's sort of a standalone device. But what I will do is, if you could take that user that addressed that question, I will double check with our product team just to make sure if there's any certificates or whatever that shows us about that assures the privacy of all the different users on the cloud server. Okay, so I'll take that action item. So Tom, yeah, just take that person's address, and then what I can do is I'll take the action to address that, and I'll come back to you with an answer. I mean, I see that people, upload a lot of information in terms of SIP accounts and all that. And is there anything that we could provide that gives them confidence to say that their privacy is protected? Sure, I'll take that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll get that information over to you. Thank you for that question, Andre. That's a great one. And Tim asks us here, are there future plans to expand to Microsoft Teams platform phones?
That's an interesting question. In terms of Microsoft Teams, right now, I don't know about any specific certification. I know that Microsoft Teams is primarily a software-based type of thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're very open to it, but it's just a matter of will Microsoft end up dancing with us, to be honest with you. If they want to qualify us for Teams, we're definitely open for it. But I do know that their preferred endpoint, quite honestly, a lot of it is headsets and running through talking directly on the computer. But if they're open for it, if there's someone out there that wants to use our phones, I'll be more than happy to entertain and try and get our phone certified with Teams. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
And then I got a question from Ross. It says, is this FDMCS server USA based?
I don't know where they're based. I do know that they're actually based in China. I can't verify whether I don't believe there is anyone based in the US. But that brings up a topic of redundancy. I can go ahead and check that. I don't know of the actual infrastructure. I do know that this service does base in Asia, but I don't know where in Asia it is. But so I'll take an action item to see, where this FDMCS is based, and in addition to any redundancy as well.
And he also does follow up with, also is the FDMCS TR069 based?
Yeah, I believe that is TR69 based, correct. That's sort of the standard protocol that we use for the download version as well as the cloud version, I believe.
Yeah, yes, it is.
Yes.
Great. And seeing that's the last question to this point, does anybody else have any other questions? Speak now or forever hold your peace. No, we do. We have one here. Actually, I been going back and forth with chat and our QA function. Larry asks, a little off subject, but when will the Fanvil phones support the input of a NAT IP so that stun can be avoided if the phone is sitting behind NAT? This has a static IP.
Hector, do you know the answer to that one?
Not right now. I will have to check on that and let you know, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's very specific. Yeah, they could work with Hector and send an email on that specific question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and he did have another question here. It says, regardless of the vendor from which the devices are purchased, can the device be uploaded into a common FDMCS account? I guess the first part of that, Larry, is the only place you should be ordering those from is VoIP Supply. But I will let Tommy take charge of that.
Yeah, I flipped through. Can you repeat that question again? I'm sorry.
It says, regardless of the vendor from which the devices are purchased, can the device be uploaded into a common FDMCS account?
Yeah, I mean, as long as the FDMCS account only recognizes a Fanvil, device, and if the service provider decides to open an account, then that person basically is sort of the master of all the devices that they deploy, and it shouldn't be overtaken by any specific lines. I'll put it that way.
Beautiful.
Yep.
And it looks like that's all the questions we had at the moment. One thing Tommy did forget to input there is when you get the activation now button from Fanvil, not only does it expire in 3 days, but just like the James Bond movies, it will self-destruct. So make sure you click it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go through the same thing again because we don't leave those active links. It will, yeah. So once you get it, I suggest just to set aside 5 minutes to define your username address and then log it down somewhere. And again, that's why I was assured by the product group saying, hopefully they don't forget it, because if you forget your username address, and that's really to protect your privacy, you know, taking it out and going through, you're going to go through, we have a forget password thing, but once that doesn't solve your problem, then, you know, our industry has a lot of rotation in terms of staff. So keep good check about all of how you manage that. And then, you know, you can work it from there.
And I do want to very much thank Tommy and Hector of Fanvil for taking time out of their day to join us here and help co-host this webinar and give you guys a lot of great information. I want to thank you all for joining us. I know everybody's busy. Things are really crazy in the time that we're in, but hopefully we can get through everything, do some great business, and we're here to support you as always. All of our contact information is right here on the screen for you. Feel free to reach out anytime if you're unsure of who your rep is, or if you've had you know, talks in the past with people from VoIP Supply, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to direct you to the right place. And if you don't have a rep, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to help you, get you any kind of quotes or information you may need to help you be successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Appreciate your time. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Hector.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Bye now.